unmute.
Welcome everyone to Temple Solel's Friday night Shabbat service, as well as a brief Sukkot commemoration. I'm Rabbi Efrat Zohar, and I am so thrilled to welcome you this evening, along with Cantor Rosen and Robin Rosen, as we begin with a special nigun. A nigun is a word that it's a wordless melody, often coming from the Hasidic tradition, and it brings people into a different kind of state of being because of no words, nothing to think about, just to feel. Cantor Rosen, you want to introduce it?
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie,
Oh, beautiful choice, Cantor. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful tune.
holiday of Sukkot.
Say it again. I couldn't hear it.
Special for the holiday of Sukkot, we have to start with the nigun, with the Hasidic lovely nigun.
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you. And now I'm going to call upon Robin Rosen to kindle our Shabbat and Sukkot lights, our holiday festival lights. And for each one of us, as Robin is doing this, to bring in that light personally, just to take it and personally begin to bring it into our hearts, into our souls, just as she circles 3 times in the attempt to bring in that light. We maybe in our own homes can do the same thing, really bringing it physically into ourselves as well as spiritually.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat ve'yom tov.
Let us slide this light and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us slide this light and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
And together, even virtually, it's wonderful to be together as we sing Hinei Ma Tov from Psalm 133.
הנה 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 מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה 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 מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה 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 מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה 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 מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
And before we go to Shalom Aleichem, I have a quick little piece of poetry to read to you. This is from Rachel Barenblatt, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, who calls herself the Velveteen Rabbi, and she writes this beautiful introduction to the season that we're now in, and she calls it Return. How to make it new. Each year, the same missing of the same marks and the same petitions and apologies. We were impatient, unkind. We let ego rule the day and forgot to be thankful. We allowed our fears to distance us. But every year, the ascent through Elul and Tishrei does its magic. Shakes old bitterness from our hands and hearts. We sit awake, itemizing ways we want to change. We try not to mind that this year's list looks just like last year's. Creation gleams before us. The view from here matters not because it's different from last year, but because we are. And the way to reach God is one breath at a time, one step, one word, every second a chance to reorient, repeat, and return. And with that in mind, I invite Cantor Rosen to lead us in Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, malachi hashalom, malachi elyon. Mi melech malachi amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, malachi hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malchi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech malachi amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעולמה דברך חירותי והמליך מלכותי, בחיי כל וביומי כל ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב והימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה והימרו Amen.
A wise person once wrote, the word atonement can be pronounced at one mint. And that's really what Yom Kippur was about, was striving for at one mint with our inner voice and with God. And this calls us home to our true refuge, our inner sukkah, when we experience and try to experience that at one mint. And with that in mind, let's chant the Shema together.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, but there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
La 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 מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי, ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם לעולם ועד. La 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 ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace, your Sukkot Shalom, is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores Sukkot Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. עם מקדשי שביעי שבת, כולם יזבחו ויתענגו מטובך, מטובך. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
And we take this moment to take a pause for private prayer and personal reflection.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Oh, I am missing the holidays when the Cantor and I can be standing in the same place so we can do harmony together. But I was doing harmony on my own anyway. You couldn't hear it though. So right now we are taking a moment to think about all those in our family, amongst our friends, in our world that need physical or spiritual healing. And I'm going to ask Robin to please let us know what names she has for us this evening.
Jill Parker and Ann Becker.
And I will add in Rachel Bat Fruma. And I ask all of you to add in from your homes the names by which we will be praying on their behalf, or you can enter them into whatever chat you're able to as the Cantor sings our Mi Sheberach prayer.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with רפואה שלמה, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So, Sukkot begins tonight, and it's supposed to be Zman Simchatenu, the season of our joy. But I have to admit, I'm not really feeling all that joyful this evening. So between the coronavirus keeping us all very isolated and unable to host many people on the holiday, to the presidential debate and this horrifying election cycle, I personally am having a really difficult time getting my joy on. I'm kind of stuck more in that solemn Yom Kippur mode, although our holiday trajectory is insistently pushing me along to Sukkot. And on Sukkot, the Torah says in Dvarim, in Deuteronomy, that Jews should feel nothing but joy. V'hayita ach sameach. So great. Now I'm feeling guilty and inadequate on top of horrified, bewildered, and mildly depressed. So what is a person to do? As is my practice, I try to turn to teachers, commentaries, texts that provide spiritual support. And interestingly, one of my great teachers has been the poet Emily Dickinson, who wrote the following poem, I believe, during the American Civil War. So many of her metaphors in this poem are a bit militaristic, but it's a powerful poem. Listen carefully. I'll repeat certain sections twice so you can really catch it. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend the nectar requires sorest need. I'll say it again. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend the nectar requires sorest need. Not one of all the purple host who took the flag today can tell the definition so clear of victory as he defeated dying, on whose forbidden ear the distant strains of triumph burst agonized and clear. I don't remember when I discovered this poem. It might have been high school or college. And in the context of what sad state of affairs that it just jumped out at me, but I remember it hit me like a lightning bolt. Yes, often one must experience some measure of loss in order to truly and deeply appreciate the good. As Emily Dickinson wrote, to comprehend the nectar requires sorest need. Why is it that human beings have such a hard time appreciating what we have until we are in danger of losing it or have already lost it? That's the conundrum of human existence. And maybe I'm thinking that the dialectical relationship between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and them coming so close together, the solemnity of Yom Kippur, and then this incredible joy that we're supposed to feel on Sukkot, perhaps that just sort of teaches us and can teach us for right now in our days that the downs as well as the ups are to be expected, maybe even ritualized, because that is life. The good times aren't life, with the bad times being, well, not life or not what we should have. It's all of it. All of it is life and reality. Because frankly, I've never met someone who didn't have the bad times. I mean, maybe a little baby, but once you get past a certain age, we all have challenges and struggles, painful losses, and horrifying experiences. These are all the kinds of things that life is about, the good and the bad. I believe it's really only the modern era, like most modern, meaning second half of the 20th century and onwards, that people have come to expect only good, expect only health most of their life, expect that if, everything should go well. I believe earlier than that, and certainly far back into human history, nobody had that expectation because that was not the lived reality of life by any stretch. So perhaps Rebbitzin Sipora Heller can help us take this idea to an even more profound level. She wrote, "Our sages tell us that the Egyptian exile is the prototype for all the exiles of Jewish history." And by exile, she means not only the physical exiling, but also maybe even a bit of a spiritual internal exile. The number 4, she says, symbolizes this form of exile of the soul. It's a number that symbolizes the material realities that surround us, because the physical world is very much the place where we see the number 4. We see it with 4 directions, east, west, north, south, and we see it with 4 seasons, summer, winter, fall, and spring. And we see it with 4 basic elements of life, fire, water, air, and earth. All these 4s continually repeat. It seems to be a pattern in the universe. And she would say it's a pattern indicating exile in the material realm. And when the conflict between the material world and the spiritual one leads to the soul entering a state of deepening exile, it can have sometimes the opposite effect. Sometimes we learn who we are not and who we would never want to be before we discover our actual true identity, meaning we start with the negative and then we get to the positive. And that's when she writes, this is in fact the beginning of redemption. Such an interesting thing to think about. When we learn who we are not and who we would never want to be, the negative experience, that's the beginning of redemption. Thus, the negativity of exile is part and parcel of the redemption. The second step, the redemption, is dependent on the first step, the negativity of exile. And so we see that the exile is as much a part of the process of redemption as the rescue. And that creates a paradox sometimes. So I think it's important to just concentrate on this for a moment. The paradox is that the negativity of exile is as much a part of the process of redemption as the ultimate rescue leading to redemption is. That's a very deep and difficult teaching. And as we take up and shake the Arba Minim, our 4 species on Sukkot, the etrog, the citron, right? I'll show you because we're about to do it. This is the etrog, the date palm, right? The willow and the myrtle here in this lulav. As we take up and shake these 4 species, we can recognize that the exile of our souls is potentially upon us. And that can teach us who we're not and who we never want to be. And that recognition is part of the process of redemption and potential wholeness. That may very well be what this country as a whole is going through at this very moment, just as each one of us may be going through that same process. So on the Sukkot, I will strive mightily to try to feel the joy of redemption, even for a brief 7 to 8 days, and let it fill me with enough hope to carry me through these times. And now I'd like to show you the lulav and the etrog, and for us to say the bracha, the blessing, together. And then I'll, of course, shake the lulav in all of the various directions, the cardinal directions, as well as up and as well as down. And we do this, so say our sages, to show that God is everywhere, but also that God's power is all-encompassing, that there is godliness in everything, even, which is most hard to recognize, the negativity of exile or any negative experience that we may be having. That's when we have to stop and say, what is this here to teach me? What is this here to tell us? What can we learn from it? And how do we go forward to a more positive place? So here we have our etrog, our lulav, and I say the bracha. So at home, say it with me. If you recall, it's the usual blessing formula with al nitilat lulav, that we shake or incline the lulav. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al nitilat lulav. And then, because it's the first night, shehechianu, the prayer that we say for the first experiences of whatever we're experiencing, and saying our gratitude that we have reached this moment and thank God for it. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And we put these two together and we shake them in the 4 directions. And Then we go up, and then we go down. This is very difficult to do in front of a computer screen, as you can imagine. So may this Sukkot energize us to all work to bring to fruition the vision of our prophets and sages, where they saw into the messianic future and said, in that day, God's name will be one and God will be one. And what they meant was that at that time, there will be a oneness, a togetherness, an understanding that we all will have, that this entire universe is made with divinity, and that we ourselves are made with divinity, and therefore the divine will be in all. Amen. Amen. And let me see if I can get my computer screen back, which isn't happening. Why is this not moving? In any case, at this time, we are going to remember the people whose lives have touched our own, and we are going to recite the Kaddish, in which we recognize that God is still with us even during these difficult times, the times of death and the times of mourning, the times of sadness. Particularly this evening, we think about and bring into our hearts those who have recently passed away. Eli Barons, husband of Joanna, father of Samuel, brother-in-law of Nancy and David Johnson, uncle of Julie Tritt, Kathleen and Eric Johnson, and Michael Johnson, the nephew of Perry Weiss and Marilyn Goldstein, as well as having many cousins. And Barry Weilogue, brother of Leslie Reich, uncle of Jessica and Jeffrey Blaze, David and Barbara Reich, and the great uncle of Emily and Abby Blaze, as well as Daniel, Jake, Sophia, Adam, and Victoria Reich. And we also commemorate the yard sites that fall at this time every year. Dr. Donald Anker, Anna Baskov, Rose Berger, Roxy Berger, Eva Berger, Irene Berry, Harold Burson, Carol Brooks, Herman Brown, Max Bruck, Sidney Danzig, Irma Davis, Lillian Ehrlich, Dorothy Eiglarsch, Muriel Ensline, Barbara Feldmesser, Irving Frankel, Rose Friedman, Zachary First, Henrietta Goldberg, Shirley Gottlieb, Isidore Hirsch, Benjamin Howard, Walter Jacobs, Adam Katz, Mildred Klotz, David Kornbluth, Phyllis Lapidus, Gloria Leaner, Richard Levy, Louis Marcus, Jay Margolin, Miriam Newman, Ada Newman, Edward Olem, William Pittman, Esther Rosen, Gertrude Rosenberg, Max Rosenberg, Mendel Rosenfeld, Molly Rosenthal, Frank Rubenstein, Virginia Shader, Norman Shapiro, Jason Schraga, Alter Silver, Jerry Simovitz, Abraham Spanier, Samuel Stadlin, Phyllis Stark, Dorothy Sternberg, Minna Stone, Arnold Suval, Mayor Wolfsey, Mickey Wolf, and Moshe Zohar. We invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as together we recite the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei chon uvyomei chon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. And may the one who brings peace in heaven bring that peace down here to us in the world. And we know we need to be partners with the Holy One to do exactly that. It is on us to bring shalom, to bring wholeness and healing and peace to this world, as we say. Amen.
Let me double check here real quickly. There we go. All right, let's start that one again. Sorry about that. All right, good evening. On behalf of Temple Board of Directors, I would like to thank our Solel family and friends, as well as our global audience for connecting with us virtually and spiritually on this Shabbat evening. Thank you for joining us for all our virtual events as we stand in solidarity and have compassion for all those who are suffering from coronavirus and the anxieties of this moment. In these difficult times, we want you to know that Temple Solel is here and is here for you. In addition to streaming worship services and classes, our lines remain open and you are encouraged to contact us for your religious, spiritual, and other needs. As we talked about the last couple of weeks, I want to raise even more awareness that we want everybody to join our Sea Level Rise Solutions of South Florida, which was started at Temple Solel, for the 5th annual virtual King Tide event entitled What Sea Level Means to Me. Learn about sea level rise, climate gentrification, and how you can advocate for climate resiliency. This event will be moderated by our Temple's youth members, Rebecca Adler and Dylan Bober, and is being jointly organized by Solel members and members of the South Florida community. Registration information will be in the Temple email blast, and attendance is open to the public. Help us repair the world. The event is on Sunday, October 18th, 7 o'clock p.m. And for all our live virtual events, you could join us in one of two ways. First, on the Temple's live stream Facebook page, or second, as many of you did during the High Holy Days, on our website at templesolel.com/live. We do want to thank everyone that connected with us virtually for the High Holy Days. All of the recordings of the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services can be viewed on the Temple's website at templesolel.com/live. We're excited to announce about some upcoming events. Tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. over Zoom, we have our Torah study with Rabbi Efrat. And then Sunday at 10 a.m., our religious school is meeting over Zoom from 10 to 11:30. This Tuesday is an exciting time. Our Rabbi Frazen is coming out of retirement to start our confirmation class. The first session will be on Zoom at 7:30 p.m. So please enroll in the class and call the Temple office for those Zoom credentials. Thursday, October 8th at 10:30 a.m. for Sukkot, the Universal Celebration of Peace with Rabbi Leon Weisberg from the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning. Please refer to the Temple Bulletin for the meeting information and credentials. Next Friday night, October 9th, 7:30 p.m., Shemini Atzeret Shabbat Services with Rabbi Efrat and Cantor Rosen. And then Saturday morning, October 10th at 9 a.m. is the Yizkor services. And then 9:30 a.m. is Torah study with Rabbi Efrat. So with that, we ask that all of you stay safe, and we pray that everyone stays in good health, and Shabbat Shalom. And Cantor, I believe you are going to be blessing us with another beautiful melody. So back to you, Rabbi, Cantor, and Robin.
A special closing hymn for the holiday of Sukkot, V'samachta b'chagecha. We should rejoice in the holiday. ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח 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 ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. Yes. L'chaim. And before we do Motzi, just another quick little announcement about tomorrow's Torah study, which will not be on Parashat HaShavua, the weekly Torah portion, but will be on a very special text that is so perfect to study right now during this time about something called the Bechira point. It's a Musar text by a very famous Rabbi Dessler from England, previously from Poland, who tells us all about our choice points, how we make decisions, and really the narrow range in which we do it, and how we can be so much more conscious of how we make our decisions. So all in English, very interesting. Tomorrow we'll study it. And here we have the Chala. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
B'te'avon. Enjoy.